All right, folks, welcome back to the Driveway Engineer. Today we're sitting here looking at a video of my truck doing awesome burnouts, and I'll tell you why we're looking at a video of my truck doing awesome burnouts here. Everything in this video is like my opinion, man, but it's not based on nothing. I didn't just pull it out of my ass. Look at that lovely shirt, YouTube certified. You can find that in the store down below, by the way. But yeah, you can say what you like about, me reusing things or whatever my opinions are, but my truck does this, so I know something. So let's get started. All right, so today I want to talk about the top 5 ways to waste money on your LS engine build. And this is the second one of these videos I've done. It's been a while, and I was working on an updated things to buy kind of build list video, and it brought this to light again. So we'll go over these things, and this has changed a little bit too as time goes on. I see people gravitating towards different things. The first thing, number one thing is heads, and I'm partially responsible for this because I said, I did a video once based on some of Richard Holdner's work where I showed the different flow rates and compression of the different stock heads. And at the end of the day, it just doesn't matter, especially if you're doing a 4.8 or a 5.3. It doesn't matter what head you're running. To go out and spend money on a 243 or on head porting or on any, like these heads flow, I think the 706 head flows something like 235 CFM. A big block oval port only flows 275 CFM, and it's literally double the size. So there's just no need to change your heads from stock if you're just an ordinary guy. Even if you're running a turbo or nitrous and you're in the 6, 7, 800 horsepower range, there's no gain worth changing to any other head, stock, ported, aftermarket, or otherwise. Whatever ones you have, if they're good, run them. If you come across a set for like $50 or something and you can bump your compression on a 6-liter, that's cool. On the 4.8 and the 5.3, there's no real way to do that. Same with rectangle ports. Rectangle port heads are starting to come down in price. So they're starting to look kind of attractive because they're good. They're worth a solid 60, 75 horsepower to the tires on a 6-liter, but if you're paying like $800 and then you got to do everything else to run them, it's not worth it. So up next, intakes. It's the same as heads, and people just gravitate to intakes for whatever reason. This is a stupid sheet metal one that's all over eBay. It's all over Amazon. It's everywhere. It looks really, really race car-y, but this will 100% make less power than a truck intake everywhere on your build. The same thing goes for the Trailblazer SS intake. As far as I'm concerned, buying a Trailblazer SS intake and buying the fuel rail to go with it and a crossover, and now you need a regulator if you didn't have a returnless regulator before, to get 15 horsepower out of it, it's just not worth it. I mean, I can't see it. It makes absolutely no sense to me. So I thought I did a video on those intakes and what they all flowed, but I can't find my own video now. So, but I don't see an intake, a truck intake. You can make 1,000 horsepower with a truck intake, and we know it. And most of us, if you're watching this channel, you're probably never going to do that. So, the Junkyard Jewel made 380 horsepower with a truck intake and a stock throttle body. These are not the 5-liter Mustang days where everything's restrictive. Cams, same thing, custom cams, stage cams. I just recently did a video on it. Richard Holdner's done some videos on it. All the cams in the same category of like a stage 2, which are somewhere around 230 degrees of duration at 50 thou. Somewhere around 575, 585, 590 of lift, to where you don't get into reduced base circle cams, but you will need a converter. These all make the same power. Like, there's a, one of them will sell you 112 plus 3, so it has 3 degrees of advance ground into it. Another one will sell you 113 with no advance. It doesn't shift the power very much. All these cams make the same power, more or less. On a 4.8, you're going to make like 330 horsepower. You're going to need a converter. On a 5.3, you'll probably make about 350, and on a 6-liter, you'll make 360 to 375 ish. There's some other factors that go into it, but they're pretty, pretty consistent across the board. So, yeah, and a 4.8 will make over 500 tire with Matt did it on his Don't BS Me build. It was well over 500 tire. The cam did not hold him back at all. The cam's never holding anybody back. You don't need, the one with the America ground with the blood of bald eagles and infused with unicorn horn. You don't need that shit. You just don't. Sometimes the Yogan goes way up in price where it's $300, and at that point I wouldn't buy it. Sometimes the Summit comes down in price, and they have sales, and people have Summit bucks. And at that point, you go buy the 8706. It just depends. Whatever one you can get a better deal on, and you can just tell people. They'll never know the difference. Tell them you got that bald eagle cam. Shoot, son. They won't know. The number 4 thing is, people just always want to go to new gaskets, oil pumps, bearings, the things that are considered consumable in like a Gen 1 are not. The picture here is a picture of the bearing out of Jewel, which was like in the junkyard. I think it had 238,000 miles on it. They always look like this. There's nothing wrong with tearing it apart to look. Especially if you have reason to believe there might be something wrong with it, but like Jewel came out of a runner, it was smashed in the front. So I was surprised to find the piston burnt in it, but the oil pump is just gear-to-gear drive. It's a G-rotor style. It really doesn't wear. People always want to go out and buy that Melling high volume. They always want to shim the thing. There is an O-ring in there that tends to fail, and I would replace that, and I think it's about $3. Other than that, there's nothing inside that needs to be changed, and changing the stuff for funsies is just costing you money. Up next, engine management. I know this will be a point of contention, and is what will make the comment section go nuts. This is a picture of me in the driveway with a stock PCM tuned with Tuner Pro and a bucket of gas and a Kemso 340 liter per hour pump. Some Chinese spark plug wires off Amazon, all the stock plugs from the junkyard, a set of Trailblazer SS headers. This engine, when I took it to the engine dyno and tested it to the SAE standard with all the accessory drive back on it, made 378 horsepower or something like that. And I used a piston from under a tarp in my buddy's yard. Thank you, Wayne. And a bunch of garbage just to see what would happen. And this is what happened. We pulled the heads in the junkyard that day so that we paid the same price. So they're 862 heads. I think this was a $224 engine. I wound up with like $580 into it. And everything, the push rods, the rockers, the cam, everything in it was stock, and it made 380 horsepower to the flywheel, which would probably translate to like 320, 330. It depends at the tires, but with a cam, this engine would have easily made probably 450 horsepower on the engine dyno with a bunch of stock everything. So there's no need, if you have modest goals and you're not trying to compete in a class. And that's what people fail to realize. Like, if you had to take your twin turbo symmetrical VS Racing billet wheel and run it in a class, you would probably get demolished. And that's where it matters that everything's optimized for your combination. But for the rest of us who are just out there having fun and trying to gap Corvettes and laugh and have a good time, we just don't need all this stuff. So there'll be some links below for stuff you can use, stuff that I've used before, the videos, and hopefully this helps you out on your journey. And I thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on The Driveway Engineer.